Hello, and welcome to Raising Me, where we talk about the things we're experiencing as parents and go to the experts for advice. I'm Adrienne Stein, a mom of three, and an Emmy Award-winning journalist. Most importantly, someone who is just trying to figure it all out, too. I am so excited for today's guest, and I am also very excited to welcome Maine Health as a sponsor of Raising Me. We so very much appreciate their support in bringing you our great guests and important topics each and every week. So this is so awesome today because we are talking about the importance of humor when it comes to parenting. And our guest is so flipping funny. It is Chip Leighton. You might know him online as the dad who shares his teenagers' texts. And now parents from all over share these special exchanges with him. Here's a quick sample of him explaining what not to do if you have teenagers in his very signature deadpan delivery.
All right, this is more stuff you should not do if you have teenagers. First is cheer at a sporting event. Just watch silently from under the bleachers. Next is tag them in a photo. If you do, make sure it's on Facebook where they'll never see it. Next is make conversation with a stranger. If you're at one of those restaurants with the big tables that you have to share, just stare down at your food the whole time. All right, next is smile wrong in a picture. If you're looking for feedback from your teens, usually they'll say something like, "Stop trying to be so fake." All right, last is use punctuation in a text. If you use like a period or something, they're going to wonder why you're being so passive aggressive.
I mean, he is laugh out loud funny, and he shares his story of just being a regular guy who became a social media star with now more than 1 million followers by simply sharing his parenting experience. It's an experience really anyone with kids, particularly teenagers, can relate to. And now he's even on the New York Times bestseller list with his book called What Time Is Noon? And what you might take away from this one is the importance of keeping your sense of humor and leaving space for a second act in life. Check it out. All right, Chip, thank you so much for being here. Your content is laugh out loud funny. I just love it when it pops up on my pages. Let's just start with your background, because this is not like you're a professional comedian here by any way, stretch, or form.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It all started innocently enough. My daughter and I started using TikTok like early 2021, kind of pandemic, and we liked it because it was a fun and funny platform. And thought, maybe I could post something, that people might laugh at. It might go to a few thousand people if it's really funny or whatever. And it took a while. I mean, after like 6 months of that, I had like 17 followers. So my early stuff was not funny at all, I guess, in retrospect. Yeah. But then like 6 months in, I posted something that went viral and it kept happening. But no, I'm just a normal dad and husband and worked in the corporate world for over 25 years. So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I think that's, really what makes it relatable, because it's so simple, right? And when you hear the videos just with the texts from your teenagers, where did that idea come from? But then also further, it's not just the text, it's that you have them set to like peaceful, sweet music and these beautiful scenes, many around Maine. I've recognized them, but where did that idea come from?
Well, that was probably like my first teenage text message post was like the second thing that went viral. And it was my daughter's, like, I thought funny text messages, and they were like, basically like bossing me around, like, make me pancakes, do it, that kind of stuff. And I posted that as like, inspirational text from my teenage daughter, and it kind of caught on. And but then what eventually happened was like, I did enough of these that like people left, their teenagers messages in the comment section, and eventually like started direct messaging me. And now most of what I do is other people's, what other people have shared with me. It's become a whole thing. It's been like 3 years that I've been doing it actually, so which is wild. But yeah, that's how it started.
Were you always like, and I'm going to say quote unquote funny dad, because I'm not sure your kids ever think you're the funny dad, right? But did you always just have a sense of humor?
I feel like I've always had a sense of humor. Right. I mean, I guess people who know me would say that I'm funny, but I'm a pretty quiet person. I'm an introvert. So like, I'm definitely not like the class. I wasn't the class clown or the one who's like cracking jokes in the office or anything like that. So yeah.
When did you realize, boy, I think there's something to this?
I mean, honestly, pretty early. So like I mentioned, after 6 months, like something went viral. Then a couple weeks later it happened again. And then a couple weeks later it happened again. And I was like, all right, there's something to this because, in part because if I felt like I was tapping into something that was very widespread, but also just the way people consume media, I knew was changing quite a lot. And it was still pretty early in TikTok. So it wasn't like mainstream. And so like the people in my office are like, I heard you're on TikTok. Like, what are you, is that the kids dancing app? What are you doing? Are you okay? But I kind of knew like, okay, the people who were saying that like 6 months later would probably be on it, or they'd be on Instagram Reels or whatever. So so just seeing kind of how people's behavior was changing, and then seeing that I seemed to be tapping into something. I thought something would come out of this. I didn't know what exactly.
What have been some of the best reactions to your videos?
I mean, the teenager stuff, like the reactions I love are where people are like, hey, I had a tough day and you gave me a laugh. And so I'm like, oh, that's amazing. But with the teenager stuff, I get a lot of like, oh my gosh, I thought I was like the worst parent in the world, or I thought my kid was so weird. And it's like, I guess we're totally normal. Like everybody's like this. So, so that's good, because it's true. Like so many things are universal, but you don't realize it until like other people share their stuff. So, that's what I do a lot of marriage material too. I get different reactions to that as well.
It was so funny. Yeah. But you do have 2 kids, one in college and then a 16-year-old. Yeah. So you are deep into the teenage tech. So it is, and I think that is, you hit upon it there, it's a collective experience. Yeah. It is also very humbling to be a parent. Curious what your kids think of this.
Yeah, I mean, they're not that impressed,
of course
me.
Not.
Right?
No.
I mean, for a while, my daughter was like, I'm responsible for like 80% of your content or whatever, which I don't know if that was true.
You
ever,
owe
but
me your
right,
success.
Right. But then when I left my corporate job last year before I started writing my book, she started calling me the unemployed middle-aged TikToker, which, I don't dispute the facts there, but I don't like something in my bio or whatever. But she might be coming around because she's mostly been on TikTok. She just started on Instagram and she's like, oh, you have to follow me back. I need to gain.
So your daughter is asking you to follow her, because I will say I've heard plenty stories where it's like, do not follow me.
Yeah, no, she's like, I got to start gaining clout. So the tables have turned a little bit, I guess.
Right. So true. So some of these, I want to go through some of the best of, and I have some printed out. But I think also what speaks to people in it too is that just your delivery is so deadpan and dry. You don't come off as like, hey, I'm trying to be funny here. It's just you're reading the text. So will you read some of the text?
Oh, sure.
Okay, I have a list.
Was my job at Taco Bell government or non-government? It could have been the Mexican government. I don't know. Do I put the bear spray on before I start hiking or just if I see a bear? This is, if you're listening out there, the answer is neither. I'm staying with my friend from September 30th to 32nd, okay? This is not good. Can I use a Christmas stamp to mail something in July? I've always felt a little weird about doing that.
I don't disagree. Yeah.
I was buying the American flags. Mm-hmm. Chicken broth. That's not the sweat of the chicken, right? Bro, when does my social security number expire? My friends are almost here. Make sure dad stays in the basement.
I love that. I laugh out loud with it.
There's a huge dad theme to a lot of these. You'll find. You can pick me up now. Just park where no one can see you. Basic advice. I like this one because we're coming up on the holidays. I tried a new cologne at the store that I want for Christmas. The brand is called Tester. I think everybody's going to be wearing that this year. Let's see. All my friends are there. Walk normal.
Right. Well, I would hope so.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. How does eating cold turkey help you quit smoking?
It's a fair question, right?
Is it? If I use multiple stamps, do I layer or put them side by side? I got a flat tire. What do? Call AARP?
Right, of course.
Right. Yeah. They would probably be able to handle that call.
They actually would. But I think, part of it too is like, boy, teenagers can be so blissfully unaware.
Yes.
What do you think it is that really has gotten you in that algorithm that people are loving?
I don't know. I mean, certainly some of it is like the shareability, right? So it's like, a lot of people tell me, oh, my mom's group, we always send your stuff around, or you might have parents sending it to a teenager, like, oh, look at this, or vice versa. And so I think that sharing is it. I think just I don't know. I do take pride and try to like make sure the details are good and the music right and there's good visuals behind it. And because it's a visual and it's a sound medium too, and people are making a split second decision whether they're going to scroll or not. And so I try to keep things moving. But I mean, the main thing is teenagers are funny and like people have sent me some amazing stuff. And so I try to pick the best of the best. Sometimes I don't get it right, but a lot of times I do, I think. So.
How many texts do you think you have received from social media users out there?
I've actually never thought about that question. I mean, it's definitely, my book has like, I think it's between 400 and 500 in there. Wow. So it's, I've definitely received thousands. I don't know. That's a good question.
When you think about it though, like just really kind of taking a step back, thinking big picture, I also think it speaks to the importance of humor in parenting.
Yeah.
How have you incorporated humor into your parenting?
Yeah, I mean, I think humor is like it's a big value of mine. I think like laughter helps you to get through stressful situations. It has the power to kind of diffuse a situation, whether it's with kids or in marriage as well, right? And so I think if you can like laugh at the small things, it keeps them from becoming the big things. And especially if you can laugh at yourself, right? Which is part of it. I mean, some of what I do online, it's like, it's not clear who the subject and the object of the joke are, right? Like the marriage stuff I do is like, I'm making fun of myself or like,
it's hard to say,
on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just, it has the power to kind of like, get through some of the tougher situations.
It puts things in perspective. That is like just not taking ourselves so seriously all the time.
Right. Because none of this stuff most of this stuff is not serious, right? Even like the things that are where it's like, oh, your kid doesn't know how to mail a letter or whatever. It's like, well, they'll figure that out. Like I'm not concerned about that. So I don't think parents should stress about their kids not knowing exactly how to do laundry perfectly or whatever. I mean, if you want to teach your kid that, great. But
wait a minute, there was a good laundry one that I did pull. Speaking of, what was it? Oh,
there are a lot of good ones.
Oh my gosh, where was it? Oh, which washer hole do I put the laundry juice in?
Yeah. Kids are like, they use the word juice and the word sauce a lot. They're like, okay, so first I put the clothes in and then 2 sauces or whatever. Right. But I also there was a girl who said, how do I get the clothes out of the washing machine? Do I just like reach in there with my hands?
The answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. But you know what? Really, like, thank goodness they're asking these questions and learning now while they're still in the house versus, out in the world.
Yeah. A lot of those do come from college students or folks when they get out.
Well,
in the world,
they're still in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
How much do you pull from your own life experiences? Because speaking of college, you had some really good ones that caught my eye because we just recently did a college visit about like don't ask a question on a tour. Yeah. It's more of like things not to do with your kid.
Yeah. That's at the top of the list of what not to do when you're looking for colleges. Don't ask a question on a tour. Don't be that mom or dad who's like, what do the kids do for fun around here? Yeah. It's not. Yeah, that's the worst case.
I was looking in some of the comments, and actually, it's interesting because it does create this really collective experience among parents in the comments. And one of a mom responded to that she had recently been on a tour and they separated the kids and the parents. And I was like, ooh, that is actually a really good idea. So the kids have their own experience and then parents can ask all the questions that is good, want.
Actually. That's smart.
Yeah. The driving ones are really funny too, as somebody who has a relatively new driver. And I pulled some of those too. You give off bad energy when you grab the handle and scream.
Right. That's the whole thing. That's the whole dynamic is like the parent is terrified and like they're showing their fear. Then that stresses the kid out more. So it's
it is a very stressful situation. I'm sure you remember like getting in with your firstborn when they first get behind the wheel. Yeah. So how do you see this evolving in the future? Obviously, you do have a book out, but where do you see this going from here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm not sure. I mean, this whole journey, I've sort of taken it one step at a time and sort of see like, hey, what makes sense here? I didn't chart this whole thing out. So, I mean, at the core, I want to keep, giving people something that, they enjoy and that, gives them a positive moment during their day. So I'll keep looking for more ways to do that. I also want to keep up with the social media stuff. I have the book coming out, which I hope people will like. And I started to do some live performance stuff, which is going pretty well. So I know. But who do I think I am?
I mean, so you're evolving into an actual stand-up comedian.
Yeah. I don't really call it stand-up because it's like, It's sort of like a hybrid. I mean, it depends on the setting I'm in, but I use, where I can, I use like a digital screen and I show some of the text messages on there and I do some other things. I do some stuff that is more kind of pure stand up, I guess, but it's been fun. Yeah, I always thought this would translate actually to the stage and then, but I probably never would have done anything. And then, a couple of years ago, Caroline Ray, who's a great stand-up comedian. She lives in Maine in the summer, actually, and reached out. She's like, "Oh, you're hilarious. Do you want to do some stand-up together this summer?" I was like, "Sure." I was like, "I've never done it before." And she's like, "Oh, I'll coach you over Zoom. It's fine. I'm a great teacher." And so we did some shows, and it went pretty well. And I've done some other stuff. Like I started doing like a parents or family weekends at college. It's like I went to Penn State, did that like the other weekend. And so that's like my perfect audience, right? It's like parents of college students. So I want to sort of evolve that and see, where that goes. And we'll see.
What would Chip of 10 years ago say of where you are today?
Yeah, I don't know. You'd be surprised even 5 years ago, right? So it's, I mean, you never know what life's going to put in front of you. And I'm very lucky to be in the position I am. I was in the corporate world for like 25 years and worked at Hannaford for the last 15 years. And but this has been really fun. And it's
Do you have a favorite video?
You think I'd have an answer to that question, right? I don't know. Probably, I mean, some of the best of the teenager text messages ones have been, would probably be up there. Like I have one that's got like crazy number of views on Instagram. It'd probably be that, but
Do you find it challenging? I mean, this is very public, what you're doing. It's sort of balancing that public-private life.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of paparazzi outside the house.
Okay,
but when I first started, I mean, I never thought anybody I knew in real life would ever see these things because I wasn't expecting this. But and for a while, like I didn't even like use my full name like on the account because I did feel a little bit weird about it. But then eventually, when I started writing the book, I'm like, all right, my name's gonna be on the book, so I'm just gonna embrace this thing. And it's always funny when like someone recognizes me out in public, especially if the family's there. Like you want to see your teenager give you an eye roll, like that's like the ultimate, like, oh, you're so funny or whatever. And the kids are just
even though she wants you to follow her on Instagram.
She needs the clout.
Yeah, that's right. What has been the most surprising part of this whole experience?
I mean, I think just how universal some of this stuff is, right? It's like, because I see that now because I have a pretty big reach with what I post, and it's like almost everything you just hear people jumping in, like, oh, I had this experience, on a college tour or whatever. And it's just like, we have so much more in common than we have, that separates us. And so it's like, it's just a great reminder of that. And I mean, I know like my audience is from all over the demographic and political spectrum, and I'm really proud of that, right? Because I'm just trying to like, focus on something positive and light that's, that we have in common. So
what's been the biggest lesson that you have learned during this whole experience that maybe, us as regular parents who aren't TikTok stars can take away from that?
I mean, I guess just in terms of parenting, it's like, don't sweat the small stuff. Like kids are going to turn out probably fine. I mean, I was an idiot.
Probably fine is the key word. But
I was the same way when I was a teenager. I didn't have texting or whatever, but I think that's fine. And then just like personally, it's like, just, be open to like trying new things and doing things. I have this, second chapter in my career in my 50s and, it's amazing. And so sometimes you got to take a little bit of a risk but with these kinds of platforms, like anybody can take a risk quite easily. Right. So those would be a couple things.
Yeah. Just always evolving.
Yeah.
Chip, thank you so much.
Well,
certainly appreciate it. Well, of course, we'll put your social handles in on our website as well as a link to the book as well.
Awesome.
What time is noon?
How
appropriate. I'm sure it started as a text, didn't it?
I've had probably 12 different people say that their kids said some version of like what time is noon. Yeah. So it seemed like a great title for the book. So,
Love it. Chip, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
You know how you just sometimes feel jazzed after talking with somebody? That's really how I felt after that conversation with Chip, and just left with takeaways I didn't necessarily expect. First, of course, keeping a sense of humor. It is so important, and there really is a collective experience in what he does and what he shares. I mean, come on, like we're all beaten up a little bit by our teenagers, whether it's a very direct remark about staying in the basement when a friend comes over, or just shaking our heads at some of the things that they say. As Chip said, laugh at the small things to keep them from becoming the big things. Just love that mindset. And don't sweat the small stuff, just a reminder not to take ourselves too seriously. But the other, and this is one I didn't necessarily expect to come away with from our conversation, is just leaving room for a second act. Here's this guy working in corporate his entire career, never dreamed of amassing a following of more than 1 million people with now a New York Times bestseller book with his comedy shtick. Like, it's crazy, but it is so incredibly cool. And he says he's just, just taking it one step at a time. So as we head into the holidays in particular, let's try not to sweat the small stuff. Find humor in the things that feel like they're going all wrong. And again, leave space for that next chapter, whatever it might look like. Thank you so much for listening to Raising Me and to Maine Health as a new sponsor. I'm Adrienne Stein. This episode is edited by Megan Littlefield and produced with Nate Eldridge. Please follow Raising Me wherever you get your podcast. And of course, consider a positive rating and review so others can find this message as well. Wherever you are, I hope you learned something new and get to take a little time for you.